How's everyone doing after Christmas? I know it gets kind of sad when everything is over, doesn't it? But hopefully everyone's having fun and still eating some Christmas cookies. Well, the book tonight I want to read, one of the books, is called Dance at Grandpa's. And this book is special to me because this is the book that my oldest daughter, this was the first book she ever read. She learned to read out of this book. So Elsie, we're talking about your mommy. And I think you have the original one. This is a new one I had to buy because that one I gave to you. So this is my first Little House books, Dance at Grandpa's. Once upon a time, a little girl named Laura lived in the big woods of Wisconsin in a little house made of logs. She lived there with her pa, her ma, her big sister Mary, her baby sister Carrie, and their good old bulldog Jack. One winter morning, everyone got up early, for there was going to be a big party at Grandpa's house. While Laura and Mary ate their breakfast, Pa packed his fiddle carefully in its box and put it in the big sled waiting by the gate. The air was frosty cold, but Laura, Mary, Carrie, and Ma were tucked in snug and warm under robes in the sled. The horses pranced, the sleigh bells rang merrily, and they went off through the big woods to Grandpa's house. It did not seem long before they were sweeping into the clearing at Grandpa's house. Grandma stood at the door smiling and calling them to come in. Laura loved Grandma's big house. It was fun to run from the fireplace at one end of the big room all the way to Grandma's soft feather bed on the other side. The whole house smelled good. There were sweet and spicy smells coming from the kitchen and the smell of hickory logs burning with bright, clear flames in the fireplace. Before long, it was time to get ready for the party. Laura watched while Ma and the aunts made themselves pretty. They combed their long hair and put on their best dresses. Laura thought Ma was the most beautiful of all in her green ruffled dress. Soon people began to come to the party. They came on foot through the woods with their lanterns, and they came in sleds and wagons. Sleigh bells were jingling all the time. That'd be fun to ride in a sleigh like that, wouldn't it? The big room was filled with tall boots and swishing skirts, and there was ever so many babies lying in rows on Grandma's feather bed. Laura thought baby Carrie was the prettiest. Look at all those pretty babies. Then Pa took out his fiddle and began to play. All the skirts began to swirl and all the boots began to stamp. Swing your partners, Pa called. Laura watched Ma's skirt swaying and her dark head bowing and thought she was the loveliest dancer in the world. Soon it was time for dinner. The long table was loaded with pumpkin pies, dried berry pies, and cookies. There was cold boiled pork and salt-rising bread. How sour the pickles were. They all ate until they could eat no more. Look at her pickle face. The fiddling and dancing went on and on until it was time for Laura and the other children to go to bed. Look, he's rubbing his eyes. He's tired.
Yeah.
When Laura woke up, it was morning. There were pancakes and maple syrup for breakfast. And then Pa brought the horses and sled to the door. Pa tucked Laura and Mary and Carrie and Ma into the sled. Grandma and Grandpa stood calling, "Goodbye, goodbye," as they rode away into the big woods going home. What a wonderful party it had been. I love these books. Here's a Dr. Seuss book. Oh, someone put stickers all over it. There's a Wocket in my pocket. Did you ever have the feeling there's a wasket in your basket? Can you see that little guy? He's pink. Or a neuro in your bureau, or a wasset in your closet. Sometimes I feel quite certain there's a jerkin in the curtain. You see him? Sometimes I have the feeling there's a zlock behind the clock. And that Zelf up on that shelf, I have talked to him myself. That's the kind of house I live in. There's a nink in the sink and a zamp in the lamp, and they're rather nice, I think. Some of them are very friendly, like the yacht in the pot, but that yachtle in the bottle, some are friendly, some are not. I like the zabel on the table and the gare under the chair. But that bofa on the sofa, well, I wish he wasn't there. All those nutbirds in the cupboards, they're good fun to have about. But that noothgrush on my toothbrush, him I could do without. How's he brush his teeth with him on there? The only one I'm really scared of is that vug under the rug. And that Quimley up the chimney, I don't like him, not at all. And it makes me sort of nervous when the Zoll scoots down the hall. But the Yeps on the steps, they're great fun to have around. And so are many, many other friends that I have found. Like the Teller and the Neller and the Geller and the Deller and the Beller and the Weller and the Zeller in the cellar. What is he doing? Looks like he's juggling eggs. And the Geeling on the ceiling and the Zower in my shower. And the Zillow on my pillow. I don't care if you believe it. That's the kind of house I live in. And I hope we never leave it. That's a silly one. And tonight I thought I would start reading to you out of this, my very first Bible. And the Bible is broken up into two parts. The first half is the Old Testament, and these stories are in the Old Testament. In the beginning, think of the dark. Make it darker. Think of the darkest dark. In the beginning, there was nothing but dark. Then God spoke, "Let there be light." And the very first light shone brightly. And God spread the sky wide above the ocean and folded the land to make hills and valleys. God covered the earth with plants, grasses, and flowers, vegetables, and trees. And the sun shone in the daytime, and the moon and stars waited for their turn in the nighttime. God made all the creatures. Birds flew in the sky. Fish swam in the seas. Animals leaped and ran and scurried and hurried all over the land. They made themselves homes in holes and burrows and nests and dens. Then God made people, man and woman. "Welcome," said God. "You are my friends, and I want you to be safe and happy. Take care of the good world I have made for you. Never choose to know about bad things. They will only make you sad." And everything was perfect. Then, one day, people wanted to find out about bad things as well as good things. The snake whispered what to do. They ate some fruit that God had told them not to eat. And their world changed. Excuse me. They were no longer good friends with God. Instead, they felt all alone in an unkind world. They had to work very hard for everything they needed. Can things ever be put right again, they wondered? People have been wondering ever since. Well, that's why Jesus came, to save us.
Yep.
Right? And fix things. Tomorrow we can read about Noah and the ark. So I hope you like the stories tonight. Stay warm and snuggled in your beds. Good night.